Do you have any idea how dominant Myles Garrett is right now?
Oh, he's a madman! A madman!
The Cleveland Browns star was on fire again in the 24-10 win over the Las Vegas Raiders, racking up another 3 sacks and a pair of forced fumbles to go along with a season-high 12 pressures. That performance now puts Garrett at 17 sacks on the season, which is officially a career high for the 6-time All-Pro, but he still has 6 games to set his sights even higher. Garrett would need to average just 1 sack a game for the rest of the year to eclipse the single-season sack record of 22.5 shared by Michael Strahan and TJ Watt, and that seems like child's play compared to Garrett's current pace. Over his last 4 games, Garrett has racked up 13 sacks, including 5 and 4 sack performances against the Patriots and Ravens. Garrett is on such a torrid pace right now that we need to start having the conversation of whether he's going to break the all-time sack record and not just the season-long one. Bruce Smith holds the record with 200 career sacks, and as it stands, Garrett is 80 away from breaking that record before even turning 30 years old. If Garrett can break the single-season sack record this year and average 15 a year going forward, he could break Bruce Smith's record by the time he's 35 years old. Just think about how wild it was back in 2017 when there were people arguing that Garrett shouldn't be the #1 pick simply because he had interests outside of football. We're now seeing that former #1 overall pick in his prime, and I want to make sure NFL fans understand just how dominant that prime really is. So let's break down the film from Cleveland's big win on Sunday over the Las Vegas Raiders to show you that dominance from Garrett in today's episode of Best Available. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. Make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube if you're not already. You can also follow us on socials at BestAvailableYT and consider becoming a member to support the channel. I will leave details to that membership in the episode description, but why don't we go ahead and dive into that tape on Garrett, because he was on a mission on Sunday. I really don't know if there's another defensive end in the league, maybe historically, that's as dominant as Garrett has been right now, and I know it's easy to overlook because of how, deeply flawed the Browns have been, especially on offense this year. But the man's playing at a whole other level. And I just want to start this video by letting you know, I don't care if you're running away from Garrett like this, you need to block him. It does not matter what the play call is. I don't know what this concept is, but we have what looks like an outside zone. Everyone down blocking here, and then we have these 2 guys just like running out to the flat. Maybe they're just trying to hold this linebacker. Garrett doesn't care, and I think that is, maybe when you're overthinking too much as an offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly, sorry, I get them mixed up all the time. Chip Kelly did get fired after this game, the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. This concept just seemed a little baffling. We have this motion, right? So maybe we're trying to cause Garrett to freeze against a jet sweep. Clearly not a jet sweep. Garrett reads it all the way and then just punishes Ashton Jeanty. That impact, we're talking about a 275-pound edge rusher. Like, he comes into tackles with violence. And, Ashton Jeanty, one of these guys that came into the league, is, one of the best contact balance running back prospects we've seen in a while. I had to learn the hard way a couple times on Sunday that, it's not fun to get tackled by a, all-time great edge rusher. I could watch Garrett bull rush all day. Some of the stuff that he does, at his size, athletic mutant is the best way to put it. But I think at the end of the day, he knows where, he can really make an impact. It is that bull rush with his size. And you're going to see it with this get off on this motion, reacts well to that. But I want you to pay attention where his hands are on this bull rush. You've got that forward lean, and then he's getting extended with his hands above his eyes ever so slightly. But he's winning that leverage battle, right? His pads are lower than the offensive tackle's pads. He's got that forward lean. He's got the hands above the eyes. And then just watch his feet as he just drives them. He just keeps them moving. And if you notice, he even has to reset his hands here. There's some hand fighting. The tackle's working on getting his hands inside of Garrett's hands. Garrett doesn't care. He's just so athletically gifted. Already is winning that leverage battle and just keeps those legs moving. It's that motor combined with that strength and leg drive. And honestly, this is like teach tape technique as far as bull rush goes as well. And it prevents Geno from stepping up in this pocket. You can see where he wants to go. And instead of being able to throw this ball forward and step up, he has to start drifting this way to avoid the pressure. And, lo and behold, it is an on-target pass. I'll give Geno credit for that, but he's throwing it to a covered guy. He just does not have the time to get this ball out. This is, just some teach tape stuff from Garrett as far as how a bull rush is supposed to look. And obviously it helps is when you're one of the strongest players to ever play the position. I cannot imagine how stressful this is for a center when you have Myles Garrett standing up over the ball. You've got this look, you got edge rusher here, D lineman, edge, and then you don't know which way Garrett is going. That's got to be just an absolutely terrifying scenario as an interior rusher. Garrett times this up so well. It's one-on-one with the center, this poor center, just not able to do anything. He holds his best, like he does his best to hold on, but you can see, if you just look at the center's feet, he's trying to anchor down and hold his momentum, but like Garrett's just too strong for him. And Garrett, he doesn't get the sack, but you have to count this as a pressure. Geno can't step up anywhere as this pocket collapses. That's been the case for him all season. But some of these quick pressures like this, especially from, the A gap or over the center, makes it so much harder to play quarterback when you can feel that right in front of you. And it feels like you have nowhere to step into. You can see like a lot of these throws you're noticing from Geno, like he's not stepping into this at all, right? He's having to just like use his core to turn and get some velocity on this ball because he does not have the room to step in the pocket and throw the ball. Garrett's just that disruptive. And I'll give credit to the rest of the Cleveland Browns defensive line, whether it was Mason Graham or, Isaiah McGuire. There were a few got Malik Collins. Like all of these guys played their butts off against a bad offensive line, and they feasted in this game. We already saw the play strength, the bull rush, some alignment versatility from Garrett. But what makes him unfair is, he can still bend as one of the bigger edge rushers in the league. It's this get off, how quickly he's able to get off the snap. They're trying to put a tight end on him and just force basically, you can see the split too, very wide alignment from this tight end. We have all of this space in between him and the tackle. The reason the Raiders are trying to do this, if you're even comparing the split to Bowers on this side, like it's way wider. They're trying to keep bumping Garrett wide to make this angle to the quarterback tougher and tougher and tougher. But Garrett is just too bendy at his size. Great get off. He feigns inside. He does one of these like crossover moves. Then he dips under, rips through, bends that hoop. And I know that he doesn't get to the quarterback, but from that such a wide alignment to get hands on the quarterback after all of this, it's a one-of-one player. Like this, the timing off the snap is great. The burst, the crossover move. I wish I knew what that's exactly called. I haven't worked too much with pass rushers on stuff like that. But I just love the chop, the dip, the bend. All of that is textbook. And then to rip through to try and tighten your path to the quarterback. Like guys shouldn't be that flexible that are this strong. It's truly a one-of-one, combination of skill sets for Garrett. Garrett again, super wide alignment over here. The Raiders are going to move that same tight end over, try and help chip him or do whatever it is to slow Garrett down. But instead of going outside this time, you're going to watch him feign out, jab inside, and go speed to power on this left tackle. So we're going to see feign out, jab step in, use that momentum into the tackle, throw him to the ground. It's one of my favorite parts about watching a pass rusher is you can watch them layer stuff onto each other during a game. This is a great example of that. He had a similar look that last play we showed. He's trying to go around the edge and still, does get close to generating pressure. This tight end's definitely preparing for another speed rush. Tackle thinks, he's going to, have some help, but instead he's just caught completely off guard by that inside move. And then Garrett's just so powerful that he uses that momentum on that jab step to turn it into a bull rush that throws the blocker, out the club. It's truly elite stuff. We've already talked about all the physical tools. It's a one-of-one type of player, but the technique is absolutely still there as well. Another reason why this guy might break the all-time sack record by the time his career's over. We've got that wide alignment again. He's going to throw a handful of pass rush moves here. So working out initially, we're going to swim over inside. You can see that swim. Then this guy's going to get latched onto him. That's good extension. His hands are inside. Garrett's hands are way stronger. He's going to attack that wrist, throw it off of him, and then get into the quarterback as he retreats. It's definitely some help from his teammate on the inside to force Gino to retreat. What I appreciate here at the end, watch Garrett punch at that ball. He is ripping down on that as soon as he makes contact, which is just, again, what you are taught, especially when the quarterback's not protecting that football. Gets the forced fumble and the sack. That's just a terrific play all around from Garrett. But it's that hand usage I want you to pay attention to, again, with that swim on the tight end right there, disengage the tackle, and then punch at that ball. Active hands is essential to being a productive pass rusher, regardless of if you're a Myles Garrett or, someone I'm thinking of right now is that rookie Donovan Ezraku with the Cowboys. Never the biggest guy, but he's got length and he knows how to work his hands to disengage. That can be a really valuable tool in your tool bag, and it helps when you can do everything else at an elite level. Shock and shed is something that's just ingrained in me from my time coaching. It's a drill that we always worked in individual period with linebackers, and that's just how you take on a block and how you get off a block. And usually, you want to launch with your hips and shoot your hands, get all the way extended against that blocker, and then rip them off of you so that you can disengage and get to the ball carrier. I think we get a textbook rep of that from Garrett right here on number 70. So you're going to see him work, get extended, rip off of that, get a free path to Gino, get a hit on him. It's that stack and shed technique I just really enjoy from all of my time coaching. I swear that's something when I coached linebackers, I think we did almost every single day in individual, just because it's something you have to get comfortable with. It's so important to get extended. It's so important to be able to rip off of that. A lot of that is upper body strength, frankly, because we can admit, like, Garrett's not winning the pad level battle here, especially originally. You can see pads here versus pads here. His hands are inside. You can see because his hands are inside, he's able to get that extension, and then he rips off that to get disengaged. And it's a beautiful play. I mean, he shocks and sheds so fast that, the center isn't even prepared for it. He looks away for just a split second, and then suddenly Garrett has a step on him. He just does not have time to recover for that. I was holding out hope during edits that we'd get the fourth quarter of film to share with you guys as well, because Garrett did have another couple of sacks in that one. But unfortunately, sometimes with NFL Pro, some stuff just never gets uploaded, so I'm not sure why. Not going to complain, because honestly, NFL Pro has been an outstanding tool to use this season, and I know they're going to continue improving it. So beggars can't be choosers at this point when it comes to NFL film. But I do hope you got a better idea of just how dominant Garrett is as a player. Obviously we went over the physical tools, the bend, the strength, but also that technique. He is just such a special one-of-one kind of player. So hope this video did a great job of contextualizing that and reminding you just like, hey, like this guy is, has a real shot at becoming the all-time sack leader. Real shame it's on Cleveland. I would have loved to see him get traded this offseason to someone else, but man, he is just playing at a historic level. So really appreciate you watching. We will be back on Wednesday with a certain wide receiver who is blowing up in the NFL. And I think I figured out my comp for him finally. And as a born and raised Hoosier, I think anyone that follows or is from the Indianapolis area will really appreciate this comp for Jackson Smith and Jigba. We'll be back with that video on Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching Best Available, and we will see you later.